It's
Right.
like aspire to inspire before you expire.
Okay. Super. So that is another beautiful quote coming from Siji. Aspire to inspire before you expire. Siji, here we are. Thanks a lot for coming on Stree Incredible and giving your time to all of us.
Thank you so very much, Aman and Stree Incredible. It's a real privilege to be on this platform.
So before we start, Siji, just for our audiences, I just want to give a brief background of the work that you do. She's a TEDx speaker. She's spoken a couple of times on the TED platform. She is the recipient of Karmavir Award, which is presented by the United Nations, and she is known in the corporate fraternity for the kind of work that she does towards women empowerment, uh, training and coaching people at the senior management level, right? But I think what I want to highlight today, Siji, about you is the kind of person I have seen you, right? Extremely warm, extremely forthcoming. And what I really loved about you is the intent with which you operate. I remember even in our first conversation, from the time we started talking, right? I've always seen that intent coming across and your passion to really support people in their own journey. And I think all of this also comes because you yourself are a deeply reflective person. You've done a lot of introspection yourself, and I have seen that coming through your words and your action. So honestly, I'm extremely delighted to have you with us today here.
Thank you. Thank you for this lovely and kind words. Really means a lot to me. Thank you.
I want to start by Siji, asking you, for someone who's hearing this word for the first time, in very simple words, how would you define what resilience is and maybe what it is not?
Oh, okay, cool. So, if I have to just explain that very simply, resilience is nothing but your bounce back ability. So,
Okay.
it's like we all go through setbacks. In fact, we go through setbacks literally every single day in some or the other way. It could
Right.
be something minor, it could be something major, depends on that. So, we say, we can't stay happy for a long, long time because it's something to make us feel depressed, sad, low, or something of that sort. So, resilience is basically our capability of how quickly can we bounce back if there's something that's disturbing us. And the disturbance could be anything, right? From maybe you lost your job, maybe you lost a year at your studies, maybe there's some kind of financial emergencies or financial loss that you're going through. It could be a departure of a loved one. It could be a relationship break, or it could be a heartbreak. It could be anything. It could be the smallest of the minor things. Having got 2 marks lesser than what I thought I would get in my examination is also something that puts you on a low time, like
Right.
because you feel. So resilience is nothing but how quickly are you able to make a bounce back. As I very rightly say that each setback in our life is a
Mm.
setup for a stronger comeback. Setback is nothing but a setup for a stronger comeback. So it's good to have setbacks because we get stronger every time we have a setback. And
Super.
what is it not actually? Resilience is not about hardening up. It doesn't mean because something happened to me and I get hardened up because of all that happened to me.
Mm. Right.
So it basically means that we all know we are very vulnerable creatures, and it's very much fine to accept that vulnerability of ours. Know that everybody feels, everybody goes through setbacks. Understand, acknowledge, and accept that. And
Right.
once you are in acceptance of that, it's very beautiful to show that even in your vulnerability, you have a lot of strength. So
Super.
vulnerability is not something where you're weak. Vulnerability is showing your vulnerability is that you saying how strong you are because you're able to accept every failure that comes through your way.
All right. So I think that is very beautifully put. So Siji, tell me, is resilience more of a mindset, or is it also manifested in the actions that we perform in our lives and in our work?
Okay, so resilience is both a mindset and it is demonstrated. Actually, it's an integration of both. Basically, multiple times we keep challenging ourselves, and we need to challenge ourselves because we tend to get into a fixed mindset most of the time because of the beliefs that we carry. It's like all of us have a lot of self limiting beliefs. And the more you hang on with your self limiting beliefs, you are unable to tap into your limitless potential, right?
Right.
So a mindset is something with which your mind operates, starts thinking that this is what it is, and I accept it the way it is. If you
Right.
don't actually challenge the status quo, you probably don't evolve, you probably don't grow.
Mm.
Resilience has been seen in human beings right at the start, but somewhere over the period of time, with lesser number of hardships in our life, we tend to become a little more lesser resilient. We kind of get into that space thinking that life is beautiful, and we operate from a very comfortable zone. Now this pandemic came in and suddenly people are out of their comfort zone. We've lost jobs, we've lost loved ones, we have lost good health, we've had financial losses, uh, work around us, entrepreneurs are going through a lot of wreck, relationships are going through a mess. There's so much suddenly which came in, which was not the normal before.
Right.
And this is coming to a multitude of people, and now more the reason why we should be in that space.
Right.
Not only with our mindset, but with our actions too. World Health Organization says that 1 out of every 3 adults
Mm.
go through anxiety disorders. If that's what you're seeing, it's not
Mm.
good for the entire health of the the community of the world. So it's so
Right.
important for us to remember that it's just not your mind, it's your in total what you do, because anything is not just thought, it has to be backed with the right emotion, and it has to be backed with the right action. So it's a
Right.
thought plus emotion plus action that gives you the positive feel of anything.
Super. So I'm seeing resilience as a larger concept in which your thoughts, emotions, and actions are kind of aligned in a way that you're able to bounce back in your life in whatever setback you experience.
Absolutely.
So, Siji, tell me one thing. How would you differentiate between how typically we respond to failures or setbacks in life versus how would a resilient individual look at this setback specifically, and what goes into the mind of a resilient leader as compared to somebody who's just typically a person who looks at the past or who blames himself or herself?
Absolutely. Very nice question. And I mean, yes, as you said, if there are certain people, like we say, why is it always happening to me?
Yeah.
It's repetitively happening to me. Probably there's a big lesson for you there. Probably you haven't learned it in the past. So you need to learn it and keep repeating to you unless and until you haven't learned how.
Yeah.
So if I look at the resilient individuals, right, and across organizations at workplace, talk about anyone right from the front line to the C level executive, doesn't matter who, but we all need to demonstrate, because that's our pathway to moving to the next levels very easily. But
Okay.
I could say it as A, B, C, D, E. When I say
Okay.
A, B, C, D, E, that's a beautiful model to look at. First and foremost, A stands for adversity. It's very
Okay.
important for each one of us to know what's the reason behind the pattern of thoughts that we have.
Okay.
We all have a pattern of thoughts, and we tend to think that the same way. It's like T. Harvaker says, the way you do one thing is the way you do everything, right? So, what is that pattern that we typically have? What is that defines us typically? How is that we address or look at adversity? What happens typically when an adverse situation comes in front of me? How do I typically behave?
Right.
Right? I have a pattern when
Right.
something adverse is happening.
Right.
So the very first thing is that basically being aware about the pattern of your thoughts. As a resilient individual, I am more with that.
So you're saying that I will face adversity, but resilient individuals are those who are aware of what's happening to them when they are in that situation, how they
Absolutely.
behave, how they think, and stuff like that.
Absolutely. Being in a state of awareness, knowing what is the thought or the pattern of that thoughts that they are defined by. Because if you are in a state of awareness, you know a lot many things can happen.
Absolutely.
Right? The second one, as I said in the ABCD model, is the B, the beliefs, right? Uh, Once you talked about addressing what is your thought pattern, what are the unfavorable belief, is basically getting into the root of what caused that emotion.
Okay.
So we have an emotion attached to everything. As I say, emotion is energy in motion. So we have
Right.
an energy behind everything. It could be a positive one, it could be a negative one.
Right.
The belief is basically getting into seeing what exactly is the root of that emotion. It could be anything that comes in. So then I go to the second part of it, which is the C, the third part of it, which is the C, that's consequences. Understanding what could be the consequence of any emotion that I demonstrate, right? I know I'm coming with this particular emotion and it's a negative emotion.
Right.
If I know this is a negative emotion and I'm in a space where I'm really, really emotionally very vulnerable to a different aspect,
Hmm.
I could mess up the whole situation. Rather than take stock of it, I may lose control over it totally.
Right. Right.
So having that understanding of that consequence is very, very important.
So the consequence here is how I respond to that emotion,
Yes,
and what happens. What is the cost of that emotion, basically?
absolutely. So you
Okay.
have to be, as they say, think before you say it,
Right.
reflect before you talk. So it's so important that even before you respond, it's like
Hmm.
either you react or you respond, right? You
Right.
react at the spur very impulsively, and
Right.
response is after a well thought after one, right?
Right.
And if you've thought after it, obviously you're not making a mistake. You are going to be in more control of that situation.
Right.
You have thought over it and then responded to it, right?
Right. Right.
Right. So then comes D, and D is for disputation. When is that you go ahead and challenge whatever is happening to you, learning to challenge yourself over what's
Yourself.
happening to you. Yeah.
Right.
Why? You, as you say, why? And then you would say, why not me? What am I learning out of it? What is
Right.
the experience going to give me? How
Hmm.
is this going to create that space for me, which is going to be more empowering?
Right.
Give yourself that space. That's where you know your self esteem, self worth, your self confidence. Because if you doubt yourself, you will never get into that resilient space. If I can, I do that? I don't think I can.
Hmm.
Probably it's better to be low and sad. But no, I can I really refute it? Can I dispute it? Can I challenge the status quo? Can I get over it? And can I make a difference for myself? That's something that you need to challenge yourself every moment that
Right.
comes.
So I think that is so powerful, right? Instead of looking at and spending your energy in what's happened, you're really asking yourself, what can I learn from this, right? Or how can I change for who I want to be or what I want to do in life?
Absolutely.
So that is extremely powerful.
And the last one, that's E, that's energization. So
Okay.
every time there's something that's happening, I know this has happened to me. It could have happened to me in the past, but do
Mhm.
I have a technique to handle it differently this time
Okay.
so that I can be in a better empowered space?
Right.
So looking
Right.
for innovative, effective sources of action.
Right.
What action could make this more better?
Okay.
This
So can you give some examples of how? So because you said innovative, right? I'm sure it'll be different for all people. The way I energize myself may be very different from the way you do. But in your experience, what are some of the innovative ways in which people have come up, right, for energizing themselves?
one very simple, very effective tool that I found with a lot many C-level executives is they all keep journals.
Okay.
Yeah, and if they keep registering on that the day-to-day activities, and
Okay.
once they have reflected on it,
Hmm.
they find that they get an answer out of it any which ways. How,
Right.
if a similar instance happened, how do I deal with it the next time? And they
Hmm.
get a little more better to handle it more smartly the next time. It
Right.
happens with all of us, right? So many times we deal with it the way we deal, and in hindsight, we feel, oh God, I could have done a better job by saying this or
Right.
doing this or responding to it like this. A very powerful tool that most of them use is that journaling. And a journaling is an activity where you sit by yourself, go through the whole day, understand what could you have done differently. How
Differently.
could you have made the sense a little more powerful, empowering for yourself and for the people around you?
Right.
Absolutely.
Awesome. So let me do a quick recap. So adversity is A, belief is B, consequences is C, disputation is D, and energizing is E.
Absolutely. Brilliant.
Superb. So I think this is a fantastic kind of a framework, Siji. You know that I think it's so simple that all of us can kind of use that, and I think it's so applicable not only in the corporate sense but also in our personal lives.
Absolutely.
And that brings me to an important question. Tell me, how does this whole concept map on to the life of one of our audiences who's not in the corporate world, but wants to know, okay, great, how does this make a difference to my life?
Very nice. And it's a very reflective question. It's reflective because I am on this side where I'm not in the corporate space today. Yeah. I'm more like an entrepreneur and also you could say a homemaker.
Right.
Now, look at it from multiple ways. Now, I have teenage boys, right? Now they go through a lot of things in their space at the moment. Now,
Right.
as a mother, as a woman, as a mother, you have so many multiple roles to play with growing up kids. Now, resilience, if you're most of the time we do say as leaders or at home, we are role models for a lot many people around us.
Right.
And we are a role model first and foremost at home for our kids.
Right.
So, what is that you bring to the table for your kids? Are you somebody who has a lot of self doubt? Are you someone who don't have much confidence in yourself? Your self worth isn't much. Do you not care for yourself or love for yourself? Is this are some things that you are demonstrating regularly at home? Probably you're passing it on as a legacy to your children, which you definitely wouldn't like. Now, what
Right.
they would like to see is a mother who could confront a lot many things at her space. Things could be as simple as saying you may have relationships don't stay all the time the same. We have conflicts and we have healthy conflicts. We
Right.
could have healthy conflicts with our extended families, with our immediate families, with our most close and loved ones. Even the smallest, sometimes something just hurts. And again, you get into a space where you're depressed, where you're disempowered, and when you're not happy, you obviously don't make the home or the space around you happy either. And it's very critical and core for every woman who has a home to know that your happiness is of prime importance. You can do that only if you know how to take care of yourself. And first, you are able to take care of others. If you're
Right.
able to love yourself, so will others be able to love you. And so
Right.
will you be able to give that love to others even more unconditionally. So
Right.
there's so much that we as women have in us, and the grit, the determination. In fact, tenacity and resilience. God has given us a lot more than most of the men. We are anyway naturally endowed with those qualities. But yes, we develop it over the period of time, even more and more as situations come in. A loss of a loved one is something we all go through. I
Yes.
lost my father and I lived with that grief, guilt, remorse for the next 15 years of my life. Okay. It was not till I did a course for myself, like a gestalt, wherein I found some kind of healing with that. And that's when I realized, I have never been able to laugh and smile. Whenever the rains used to come, I never used to be able to enjoy the rains because my father died in the month of June and it
Okay.
was a rainy day. So whenever there used to be rains, I used to feel very heartbroken. And I would never be able to enjoy the rains, and rains are so beautiful. And every time the rain would remind me of those days, when I lost it. And that's a setback. And if you're not able to come out of it, you don't enjoy many, many things. There are times when I would not be able to laugh full heartedly, thinking, how could I laugh like this? I lost my father.
Right.
You get my point? So anything is something that could disturb you. Any setback is something that, so everybody responds differently to different setbacks.
Right.
So for
Right.
somebody, the whole world changes if they have lost someone who is so important to them.
Right.
Somebody's life changes because a relationship broke up or because a health issue happened. Anything. Malab, everyone has their own tolerance level for each of the
Yeah.
aspects.
What I was just thinking is that maybe people may get an impression that setback has to be something really big, but maybe for me, what is big may be very small for you, and what's big for you may be very small for me, right? And I'm just thinking that maybe even somebody's passing comment on how I look, or whether I am a good son or a good daughter, a good student. Small observations that the society makes, right? That itself could be a setback, and whatever you're saying is so applicable in that whole space too.
Yeah, absolutely. I was just going to tell you. So, I just wanted to talk to you about this superwoman syndrome as women we possess.
Okay.
We feel that we need to be with the best for everything, the perfect mom, the perfect sister, the best daughter, the best daughter in law, the best wife, and so forth, and so many things. Now, it's very important that while we are in the pursuit of getting into that best, perfect,
Right.
we tend to really bog ourselves, pull ourselves down to a great extent. And here
Right.
is the space where we create a lot of guilt, a lot
Hmm.
of remorse, a lot of self value of ours is on the self worth is on the down. Like, what if? Because there's
Right.
comparisons that you see that, oh, that person is able to do. Why am I not able to do? You
Right.
need to give yourself that space that everyone is different. What I may be good with is not something that you can be good with.
Right.
What is my tolerance level with this is not yours. So I have my own space.
Right.
And this is beautiful in itself. Why should I hit myself or beat myself all the time when there is a mistake? And mistakes are beautiful because mistakes help us to learn so much more.
Right.
No person has been ever successful without failures or without learning from mistakes, right?
Right.
So beating yourself, the superwoman syndrome is something that really beats us, each one of us, big time. And
Right.
we need to be mindful about that, very mindful about that, because in that pursuit of being called as a or validated or approved,
Right.
she's the best mom, she is the best daughter, she is the best wife, you kind of beat yourself a lot.
And I'm sure it must be so subtle that you may not even realize that it's playing such a big role in your life.
Absolutely, it is. You get
Right.
this moment of truth every moment. The moment somebody says your food was not great, you kind of go on a low.
Yeah.
Actually, go on a low. So it's as simple as that. In a lunch, you've been cooking four times food. In a four times food, one of the time somebody said, "Arey khana theek nahi tha."
Right.
You go for that kind of a fever.
And that is adversity, right? That
Yeah,
is adversity.
that's an adversity, and I have to quickly, okay, I know how to make up for it, or just accept that it's not possible that I can be great all the time.
Yes. Yes.
ठीक है आज टिंडी की बाजी ऐसी आ गया चल जाएगा have it dude I made it with my heart and nourished it with my love. So
Yes.
what if it's a little burnt, so what if it's having a little higher salt, so
Right.
what if it doesn't taste so yum, but I still made it with all my love and heart, having that nourishment for whoever I'm feeding that.
So, Siji, thanks for bringing that example up because I think the way resilience is portrayed, right? A lot of us have this idea that resilience means you have to face something really big in life, and then you have to bounce back and you have to prove yourself. I think it's more of what you're doing to yourself internally, and this is applicable as you said, right? Khana kaisa bana hai, right? What I am telling myself, what people are telling me, what my mother-in-law is commenting on my work, right? It can be applicable to almost everything that all of us, but specifically women, do in their daily lives. And I think that's so beautiful about this concept of resilience.
Absolutely.
I just wanted to check with you at this point, if I want to as an individual figure out that where do I stand in terms of resilience, is there a way for me to kind of measure my own resilience, or is there a scale, or is there an exercise that I can do to figure out, okay, this is where I am and this is where I need to move?
There are multiple tools and scales which is available on the internet if you want.
Okay.
However, if I have to tell that on a regular basis, if you want to just keep checking on yourself, it's basically all about awareness.
Okay.
So you have to find out how long do you settle with something that is creating a overwhelming feeling or a low kind of a feeling. So for example, as I said, the lunch may my child comes and says, "Mama, your food was very bad." And I kind of, how long do I nurse that feeling? That also is like, it's like how fast am I able to come out of that space? How
Right.
fast, what is my coping mechanism to come out of it? Being aware,
Hmm.
gauging your emotions all the time,
Right.
because when you're in that space you tend to have all those negative emotions. So
Right.
sad, feeling irritated, feeling
Hmm.
anxious, feeling overwhelmed, feeling low, so
Right.
many of those, and you find, why am I suddenly feeling irritated, why am I feeling so low? And it could all be, you would just backtrack and see, oh, that's just because my one of my child said that food today was not so great.
Right.
You could actually go back to that space and say, okay, so that's one way that you measure, is when you have check on yourself, the emotions that you carry throughout the day. So what is Aman all the time having an emotion like? Is
Hmm.
he most of the times in a sad space, overwhelmed space, excited space, super happy space, positive space? He needs to capture that for himself. So I typically say, initially the ones who are doing this exercise, there's a very simple exercise that we do. We say capture your emotions or name your emotions. And when I say capture your emotion, take an A4 size paper and have this morning, noon, and evening distributed into 3 rows, and just keep doing an emoji. What are you currently feeling? Every time you go to the sheet, just put yourself either of it. And
Yeah.
by the end of the day, just look how many you have this way and how many you have this way. And
Yeah.
you for sure know what was your predominant emotion today.
Right.
So
Right.
capture that for the next one week. eventually you get into the practice of being in that space of awareness for yourself. It's
Right.
being mindful at that time, being present in the moment and knowing that. So if I'm feeling I'm a bit sad because he said the food wasn't great, I catch myself with that and I'm aware. I know quickly what's my other mechanism to make me come back out of it.
Right. So I think those are really, really simple ways to evaluate where I am. And I think what I do a lot of times, Siji, is that I have saved my own phone number in my WhatsApp, right? And I keep messaging these things to myself, right? So I think it's not even necessary for you to actually go and sit with a book. Our phones today are equipped with everything. We have them with us all the time. And I think just a simple awareness of, okay, how am I feeling in the morning, how am I feeling in the afternoon and the evening. I think when I start doing that for a couple of weeks, I start seeing the trend in that itself. And I think thanks for that. I think I want to start doing that for myself and look how my emotions are kind of playing on my body and my mind.
Now that you said that, let me tell you what I do typically. I
Okay.
have something called as a confidence bank. Okay.
Okay.
And now what do
Interesting.
I do? Confidence bank is like, okay, today I had a conversation with Aman, right? And Aman said, Siji, you did a great job today. And I just copy paste that into one of my notepads
Okay.
in my mobile itself, and I keep it there. And I would have like this so many times when somebody said something good to me. Like, oh,
Right.
Siji, you looked good today. Oh, Siji, you spoke very well today. And so forth and so on. All this goes into my confidence bank. So
Right.
every time I feel a bit, doubting about my own self, I just get in there. And that kind of quickly gives me that space of getting back my confidence because I see, wow, that's the space
Phenomenal.
people are talking about. So that's my confidence factor.
Right.
I use it from the last 3 years. And
Okay.
trust me, it gives me a big time high when I see that there has been such lovely things people had to tell about. It
Yes.
could be from anyone.
Yes, I think that's so beautiful. Sometimes I'm just thinking, Siji, we all think there must be something so complicated involved in this, right? I need to do something really out of this world to change myself. But I think the simplest methods and the simplest tools are the most effective in terms of transforming our own inner being.
Absolutely. Because it's easy, right? It's
Yes.
easy to maintain, it's easy to do, it's easy
Yes.
to get back there.
Absolutely. We clearly we've established that as a concept, resilience, of course, it's so relevant to leaders and organizations because of the VUCA world in which we operate. But I think what's come out so beautifully in our conversation today also is that how important and relevant it is for all of us, right?
Right.
And especially women because of the kind of the society in which we live and the way our upbringing has happened, right? Even as a male, I can tell you that now after having started Stree Incredible, there are so many things that I am becoming conscious of which were just a part of me, right? So that is, I think, something that's beautifully come up. And that's my takeaway from the conversation that we had today. Siji, if I were to ask you, I know that you generally don't like to give a lot of advice, right? But if I were to ask you, what are those few things that you would like to give away to the audiences today who are watching this and who are going to watch this interview, right? What would be a few words of advice basis decade long of work that you've done in the social and in the corporate sector?
So this is Gani Siji, now talking with her almost 5 decades of existence
Okay.
and almost 3 decades of experience. So here, what I have to say is that as aspirants, the younger folks, or the younger folks who are making it now, or the ones who are along with us, I feel one and foremost thing is that I always love to say that learn to live in a very mindful space here right now, and there is lot of value in living your way like that because you're going to cherish each and every moment of your life because
True.
most of the time we are so preoccupied of what's coming up or what just happened, and we forget to live in the moment, in the present, and
Right.
we just fail on capitalizing or leveraging on something which is really going to be creating a different space for all of us. The second thing is I always would like to say is like learn to trust and give trust. Earn trust, learn to give trust, because trust is something that you have the right connections, there's the right collaborations, the right cohesiveness that all creates you to become so very beautiful with all the relationships that you have.
Right.
Because I always feel that your quality of your life is dependent on the quality of your relationships.
Right.
And the quality of your relationship is dependent on the kind of trust that you invest in that. And then I feel keep your communications open, transparent, express yourself, feel what you're feeling and
Right,
expressing it out. It's very, very essential.
right,
Expression is very, very important. So I feel express yourself in the right way, be aware about what's not going right for you, be aware of the negative emotions that you carry out, be aware about what is stressing you out, be aware that you need to shower yourself with a lot of love and care too. You're sorted. Keep life as simple as you can because complications can complicate more.
yes, I think that's a good note to end. Keep life simple. But before we close, I am curious, and of course I know a little bit about it, but I would love that everyone who's watching this would know the title that you have in your backdrop, right? Leaders in lipstick. Tell us briefly about that. I'm reading dream, define, and do, and from the name and from the logo, I can make out that it is something to do with women. But tell us a little bit about what is leaders in lipstick.
So, Leaders in Lipstick is basically a niche program for the corporate women leaders and the business women leaders. Okay. And so it's with the intention that we all need to go through a lot in our life, managing, balancing. So this
Right,
is basically a program where we have a engagement with the women leader
right.
for the next few months of her life,
Okay.
taking her through a journey which
Hmm.
is helping her to move out from the limiting beliefs into her tapping into her limitless potential, getting
Okay.
into her space of what is her next level aspiration, and
Okay.
moving along with her to her next level of aspiration. You
Okay.
know, the economy of the country also says that if you have more women leaders, our GDP increases by at least few point notches above. So it's
Right.
a good thing that if we are together into it,
Yes.
increasing, improving the GDP of the country, the economy also.
Absolutely, and I think there's so much that leaders in lipstick and Stree Incredible can kind of do together in terms of because both of us share the same values and the passion to do something in a similar space.
Thank you, Aman. I really love what you guys are doing. And so this is my support towards the cause that you are working on. And I really know that you want to create that difference and impact. Though being men, you are
Yeah,
understanding a lot many things that women go through.
right.
In itself shows that your empathy, your perceptual space of
Right.
understanding the women is so much great. And it's really heartwarming to know that a man is coming out from that mold and trying to support and build the community of the women.
Right. Thanks a lot, Siji, for kind of bringing that up because we see all these women-centric platforms which are run by women, right? But when we started this, we started with an idea that let's kind of break this whole rigid framework that only women can run women-centric platform, right? And only women can understand women, right? It's not that we understand women completely. We are learning. We are part of this society. We are going to make mistakes, but it was important for us to take that step and say that okay, hey, there are a lot of women centric platforms run by women. Let us also do something. And to be honest, it is not that we are in a space where we want to create impact or we want to help. This is for our own selves, right? Because we are learning so much, we are becoming better individuals and human beings through this process. And that's the intent, that's the idea. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks once again.
Awesome. So we'll see Siji again, hopefully, a lot more times on our platform. And we'll also, Siji, try and see if we can get started with this small community and ways and means in which you can reach out not only in the corporate space where you are doing some phenomenal work, but also to women who are outside the corporate space, but who can still benefit from all your decades of work and knowledge.
Thank you. Thank you once again. Thanks for having
Thanks
me.
a lot, Siji. Take care. Bye bye.